Evening. 10 o'clock. This heat warning nonsense. Oh my goodness. Heat warning. 26. Come on, man. That's not a heat warning. Snow's coming tomorrow. We must close school. Okay. Good evening. Probably didn't pick the best time. I'm not the best at all that, but anyway. My head needs clearing, so I got to get rid of a little bit of stuff. So we'll try and do that tonight. Now, Lynn, good evening. Got 5 of you in here. Good. I wanted to talk about some issues. Got a list here. I don't have things totally lined up, but we can do that as we go. Hopefully you guys will bear with me. All right. Let's start with Chad Morrison. So yesterday, J9 Mac, good evening. Yesterday I raised some points about Dorrington and the notes. And for those of you that didn't catch that, I think there was also a second point I made in there. It's pretty, those are pretty valid. Dorrington's making his notes half an hour late, not including Heidi, not including Chad, talking about a car that's somewhere else, the sighting stuff. Chain of commands. Okay, now Countryside, Glen B, Linda, Cheryl, good evening. Molly Denver, good evening. And Trish, okay, 25. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are wonderful. All right, political foolishness. There seems to be we have some new people or some new accounts. Welcome. Howdy. Yeah, okay. Speaks like he's from out west. So I'm not going to go over yesterday's stuff too much. It is there yesterday after the hoo-ha that's going down in Ottawa. See, it's just like the smallest things to like large scale issues. And anyway, good. It's all good. Sin City, hello. Tara. And NS44. All right. So Chad's car, we know that do I even have his stuff loaded? I did. No, I don't. All right. So some concerns that I've had with Chad Morrison's GPS is the ping rate. I've raised that before. And I've discussed Lori Ward's letter in respect to the ping rate. If the person is busy, their car is pinging at every 3 minutes. There are certain intervals where Chad's car is SUV is pinging at. Gosh, I could go off on that. Actually, the whole thing on Chad's thing for a while is pinging at 3 minutes at different intervals, which is very strange. We have, of course, Chad appearing in the Colchester logs the evening before at 12:18 a.m. And he gets up the next day and says he doesn't know anything about what's going on. Okay, those are two things I've discussed before. GPS. Now, if we have GPS, so it's just some logic stuff. So please bear with me. If you have questions, ask. Hopefully I can explain it well. So if we have GPS for Chad's car, that means that the OCC is very aware of where his vehicle is because they use live time GPS. We know this because a couple of different things. Let's start with that's the wrong one. My apologies. That one I'm going to bring up too. Write that down on my yeah, that's there. Okay. We know this because Dorrington mentions how he runs the vehicle on the traffic stop to see that there are no other people in the area, right? And we also know it from, just trying to find that here, sorry, one moment. Superintendent Campbell. One moment. Why am I not finding it? I just had it open. Okay, so this is going to be smaller print. Mouse goes like that. Okay. Share screen. Okay. Share. Oh, goodness. That's just terrible, isn't it? All right. So this is an email from Darren, an email chain, talking about the, what is it, the sticker? I forget the sticker in the window. Somebody's going to remind me. Monterey or something like that. Sticker, I always had an issue with that sticker being in the window. Talking about how the car decal, blah, blah, blah. Very impressive. Seems to look great, you know. Very impressive mock-up. Same sitting in headquarters. Where is it? Sorry, here. Right there. Any PCs, okay. Critical as MWS has GPS, right? Any PCs out there with our marking should show up in OCC. Okay, so Chad's vehicle is marked. OCC, we have Mr. Bant talking about it. Dorrington on the call in twice now about the Brookfield goo, whatever, not going there. And also about the ticket not going there. Now, so that's real time OCC sees where the vehicle is, right? Now, if Chad's vehicle is showing up real time, we'll go to the logs. The Colchester logs for 12 p.m., which is actually 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. For some reason, they're an hour out. Where are they? Who knows? But let's just go with it. They are an hour out, okay? Because it does seem to match up with Rose's notes that these are right. So we have the initial call here about 12:24, which is actually 1:24. Is it 12:24? 1:10. Sorry, just give me a second. Well, all right. Let's even just go with the most. I have to see Rose's notes. I don't have Rose's notes up here. Do I? No. One moment. Okay, yes, that is a big issue. Huge. But that's into the bigger stuff. Rose. Let me just pull up Rose and then I'll know for sure. He says it's 1 something. 110. Technology, not my friend. Mark Rose, okay? Sergeant Mark Rose. He has 2 statements. Two. They're not statements. He's never been interviewed. Don't know what's going on with that. He supposedly has handwritten notes and member report, I think they call it. Both of them are the same. Not sure where the handwritten notes went. Okay, so here we go. Let's fast forward. Here is the document as to that. I'll drop that in there. I'll try and look over at the notes or your comments so that, and if you have issues or you believe that I'm wrong, okay, please tell me. 110, okay. Approximately 110, Sergeant Rose was contacted by Risk Manager, Staff Sergeant Bruce Bryars, and requested to attend 2310 Highway 2, Milford, Nova Scotia, paramedic base, to locate Chad Morrison's vehicle, cell phone, C8 carbine, blah, blah, blah. He attended and he found 15B6. 110, right? Let's see actually if that does match up to the... Isn't this interesting? Okay, so this log, okay, sorry, it's going to go different places. I'll try and keep it as succinct. So now this log, interestingly enough, is on time. The other log, it's an hour out. This one, on time. Okay, fair enough. These are things to note so that when you're looking at things in the future, because they're playing funny games. Here we have the original mention of 15 Bravo 6 is off of exit 10, which is Shubenacadie, funnily enough, at 12:24. Now, Chad has been all over the radio on East Hants channel saying exactly where he is, right? I mean, that's on the East Hants channel. Where is Colchester, East Hants, Morrison. He's got all kinds of stuff in here about, I've got no yellow stripe on the pants. Here I'm waiting at the EHS. I can't use my portable. He's asking odd questions. Where's the sighting? I don't quite understand what he's doing here, but anyway, I have my carbine out. See, I don't have yellow stripe on pants. Blah blah blah. Sorry, this should be highlighted. Why is this like that? No, don't do that. Okay. I have my carbine out. Confirm that you're at EHS. Okay, so everybody knows on the East Hants channel that he is at, because this is a variety of ways, then they can determine where he is. You have the calls going in on the radio channels to OCC. You also have the GPS, real live time feed telling where every car is. How is it that, excuse me, they're having problems finding where the vehicle is? Okay, so first they're going to send people off to exit 10, Shubenacadie area. You have people who are saying it was over in Stewiacke. Quite a few members' reports talk about that. And then finally at 1:18, so that is an hour and 19 minutes, or 2 hours, 19 minutes. Sorry, that's a 1 hour, 19, what's that, 12? Yep, 2 hours, 19 minutes later, we have Sergeant Rose locating where the vehicle is. Why is it that that's a problem? If there's real live time feeds going on. Funnily enough, you also have people down the street at the high school. I won't touch that one right now. Spike belt they put out. That comes a little later, but they're there. So I don't know. That's like literally just down the street. Don't know why it's a difficult thing to. Why do I have a bug here? I don't like bugs in my house. Why? Okay. So that's an issue. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about in respect to that? How do you have a hard time finding a vehicle that you know where it is from both communications and from GPS, lifetime feeds? Why is that a hard one? Just want to make sure that don't move along. So please let me know. And I can move along to something else. Yes, that's absolutely true. That's their function. Wade, hello. $42 of you. Awesome. Rodney McDonald managed to drive from Portypeck to Fire Hall untracked by GPS. Yes, okay. I'm not. Yeah, the deer stuff. That's a whole other thing. I don't think I can go there right now. Okay, so NS44's picking up what I'm laying down. I'm hoping that other people do. Please continue to let me know, because if I'm losing people, that's not good. Now, let's go on to. We can go back to that if other people have issues. Let's go on to. Oh, yes. I should put that down on my list. We'll mention that too. Ready. Right? Okay. Good. Now, why is nobody saying yes? I understand. I've got one. Now, we'll touch on two different things in this one. 637. This is an email from Darren with some very interesting stuff going on. It's a dummy accounts. I've spoken about these before with the dummy attachments. It did, funnily enough, get raised subsequently in the MCC. I can't quite remember what the answer was, but they kind of said, oh, blah, 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 some excuse. Now, 6:37 in the morning. This is using Greenwich Mean Time. It's -3 hours, so that's Atlantic. And that is actually important. I've raised that additionally because there are things that happen, and I will bring that up again with because that's another topic I'm going to raise in respect to Addie McCallum's emails using Gmail and originating out of, it appears, Ontario time to himself on his official RCMP account, Atlantic time. Sending himself a text and a picture. Right. Okay. We'll track that down later. Now, MCU confirms 1 male and 1 female in local hospital. 6:37 a.m. What time was the phone call to 911? Apparently, Lisa, I'm just going by memory on this one, but apparently Lisa arrived at Leon Jowdry's at 6:33. I believe it is a 31-minute drive to the hospital. You have all of the issues to do with, well, I can't go in the ERT vehicle. I have to wait for the TAV. The TAV's got to come down there. Then the TAV's got to come and take them. Then they've got to go over to do the interview down at the fire hall. That's going to take a lot of time. Then you got to drive down there. Okay. There's the adjustments to what appears to be adjustments to the trip log on the EHS side. So how is it that Campbell, and this is to leather, interestingly enough, how is it that Campbell knows that Lisa's in the hospital before she could possibly be in the hospital? Or so we're told. MCU confirms 1 male and 1 female at local hospital. Any picking up what I'm laying down on that one? They can no longer track dummy account because they do not use GroupWise anymore. Yeah, right. Right. Okay. Please let me know that you're following me, following along with what I'm putting down. Otherwise, it's not much good. Okay, so that would be issue number 2. Discussed Dorrington yesterday and the notes and the 30-minute delay in entering the Brookfield stuff when he's just sitting around and he can't do the wellness check. Okay, Chad's car's been addressed to some capacity. There's a lot of other things to do with that. Yeah, following. Good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now I feel like getting heard like that. Okay. Oh dear, had a point on this just before we went on the air here, and I haven't quite picked up what she was putting down. So maybe I'll come back to that because that's in reference to some of the same stuff. 658. Okay, so Constable Brown, 658, says Lisa Banfield just arriving at command post with EMRT. She is likely, she's going to be looked at by EHS. So this would be previous to the interview, of course, previous to the hospital trip. 658. And then suspect, she's got down here. So this is O'Dear's points. Always very good. 650. So that's 10 minutes to 7. Suspect using a marked police vehicle. How would they know that? Yes. Okay, I follow what you're saying. Yeah. How would they know that previous to Brown discussing anything with her? There is also the mention of ammunition. I like that one. That's popped up. I haven't seen where she mentioned ammunition. Okay, so that is found just for those of you who want to know. Could it be possible? A lot of McDonald's. I'm coming across now. Started to get kind of confused because here's a list of different McDonald's that we have. Now, Okay, this raises a different issue. Solarino and McDonald. Now, Rodney McDonald claims that he got in the accident with the deer. Okay, this one probably needs an episode to itself, but claims that he got in the accident with the deer, right? Then he had to get the car, Solarino's car. Solarino did not log out. Solarino's, the car, I don't have that up here right now, sorry. The car that was in the accident, the original 05B11, appears in the radio logs much subsequent to the deer accident. I don't know how that is, and it appeared to be Steve, person named Steve. Let's see. Is it in here? Okay, so Byers appears to be using the deer car, which was written off and couldn't drive and had smoke coming out of the tire hours later. Not sure how that works exactly, because the car got traded from a 05B11 to a 05B8, which was originally Colford's car. Is that correct? Oh dear, can tell me. See, actually, I think I was discussing this with her, asking who was 05B8, and then she was away from keyboard. I did find eventually. Let me just double check here. 05B8, which is Colford's car. Okay, so that's another issue. If you go through the GPS on 05B8, Colford's car, Colford logs out doing quite a high speed. I thought it was 117 kilometers an hour, but O'Deer has it down as, she knows better than I, doing 154 kilometers an hour. Somehow, that seems difficult for me to grasp. And then the 05B8 logs back in subsequent to the takedown. In Milford, with the business to do with the spiking tires. It was a silver truck that also got a tire spike. That's very unfortunate, whoever that was. Okay, so I'm going all around here, jumping on all kinds of different stuff. Am I losing anybody? I mean, if people want further explanation on all this, I do have the proof. I just gonna kind of go on more. Addie McCallum. Let's go with Addie McCallum. Raised this issue before about the emails. Why is that not coming up? Very strange. Various emails. There should be two. So he sends himself an email. This one does not have interesting. Not finding the document. Perhaps it was removed. I was discussing it at one point in time. Here we have Addie McCallum 10. Personal information. It is a Gmail account, I believe. Don't, obviously, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form, please, no gobbledygook about sending people things or stalking or doing any of that nonsense. He's sending himself from a personal email account to his work account, a text and a picture. So using Gmail accounts, serious no-no. I've discussed that before about O drives and Gmails. That was the video where I discussed that, and there was witness questioning. I showed proof of the RCMP questioning a witness using Gmail, which is a serious no-no. This also is a no-no. Okay? Why would you have the need to send yourself a picture? The other email, the other version of this has the headers on it, which is very important. And that's what I'm talking about, the Greenwich Mean Times, -3, -4 hours, which tell you the time zone. As I'm going by memory, but I'm 99% sure I'm right, and I've shown it in a video before. The personal email account is originating out of Ontario, sending to a Atlantic time zone himself. So is somebody in Ontario accessing his account and sending him a picture? For some reason that doesn't seem to be here. I don't know why. Perhaps it was because I brought it up and they just removed that. But perhaps Odeer has the log of the original email, or she does. I'm 99% sure she has a wrench, so she can drop that in. Okay, so that's Gmails and Addie, right? Just want to make sure I'm not missing stuff here. Now, on the note of O drives, we had the admission of S drives, right? Now, there is a letter I'm studying that has been released with the latest dump. I'm going through that one. Okay. Yep. This letter, all to do the leather testimony and issues to do with that. I have not completed this one yet, but I will touch on some. So this is to Lori Ward for Department of Justice, and the MCC has serious concerns, very concerns about his testimony as being accurate. It's not appropriate, in my view, to give this advice being talking about the reactive comment, right? If you only if you ask, should I answer the reactive. But if you don't ask, then it never happened. Problem. Okay? That's a very big problem. That's not honesty. So they're concerned that other witnesses have been advised similarly about this. I have not read the reply to this again, so this is just their concerns, but I would say that is an extraordinarily valid one. I would be grateful if you could advise me whether clearly relevant material, whether testimony, documents, or things, has been withheld. Okay, and so we've shown that they're withholding a lot of stuff, and the MCC, it tries to get it to some extent. They also have their own agreements with the Department of Justice on what they're supposed to be requesting and what they can get and what they then can share. I mean, we don't have notes from why am I drawing a blank here? Inspector Archie Thompson. That hasn't been released yet. A bunch of other things. Okay, so has been withheld as it was not specifically requested either in interviews, testimony, or subpoena. So once again, you have to ask for, like, you have to know in advance. Not like they're going to tell you. And unless you ask specifically for the piece of information, then maybe it doesn't exist. Okay? But they go on further. Noting the date, please note the date. So we're back to that. So it's August 5th. So we're talking about under 2 weeks ago. Is particularly pressing getting this information from DOJ. What, if any, additional material related to the wellness interviews, very important, the wellness interviews were only done with white shirts, okay? So there's something definitely going on with that. It's not about taking care of members or anything like that. This is a debriefing, I would say, and that they can hide behind confidentiality therapist. Okay. Wellness interviews, Chief Superintendent spoke, has not been produced, and to have it produced immediately, given the commission interviews of Assistant Commissioner Bergerman and Commissioner Lucky took place this week. Okay, so the interviews for those two individuals weren't done until this month. What's going on? Big problems. All right, and the interviews of Deputy Commissioner Brennan, contracted Indigenous policing, very important position, very important. And Brennan heavily involved and former head of Nova Scotia RCMP. And Inspector Moser, the real Don Moser, are imminent. So they're withholding those two, as it appears, until last, for those that they will allow to be interviewed. Okay? So even worse than Bergerman and Lucky, because we know that it's all about the things that get released late, the documents. That's why the process continues slowly. It's very heart-wrenching for the families, extremely trying on those of you who are researching this stuff, because they just dribble it out as they have to. Okay, and they try and hide behind whatever. The tweet I resending yesterday. I don't know what they did with the original. I couldn't find it even on my Twitter timeline. About hiding the emails about law. So they hid behind solicitor-client privilege, but there's no lawyer present on the email that we can see. Sorry. Unless there's something there, I don't believe it. Just bullshit. And of course, that was all to do with the guns. Guns, very important. Another aspect of Chief Superintendent's leather testimony, this is still relating to the O drives, S drives stuff, okay? So hopefully I'm not losing anybody there. Testimony was concerning my understanding that your client is asserting the so-called Wigmore privilege. Okay, I'm not even actually going to get into that right now, Wigmore and law. Let's skip ahead to this one here. My current understanding, sorry. I need to last a little bit. The existence of the Quintet assessment, okay, so this is the wellness check, was disclosed to us July 6th. Although my understanding from what you have told me, from what you, Lori Ward, told me, is that council had only just become aware of its existence. August, a few weeks ago, less than 3 weeks. Only just become aware of the existence, and it did not, at that point, have a copy. The actual summary report with some redactions, was provided to the commission on the afternoon of July 29th. Less than 3 weeks ago. White shirt debriefing. Quintet. Good way to hide. Good way to hide. My current understanding from what you have told me is that the original notes and interviews in relation to the Quintet study were likely destroyed as contemplated by the terms of Quintet's engagement. Destroy the files as soon as you get them. Right? Or is that so? And all that is now available. Well, if it's destroyed, how the fuck is it available? O drives. Not talking out my ass. When is that video? I don't even remember. Long time ago, 2021, early 2021. Gmail's O drives is now available, is the anonymized summary, which you have provided us with redactions. So, Lori, you said you didn't have it. And then somehow a summary of it was found, even though the original agreement with Quintet said destroy everything. Okay, then. Yeah, Balin. Robin. Where's Robin's interview? I'm waiting for that one. I'm waiting. We're all waiting. And he better appear. Now, I lost anybody yet? Okay, so we've dealt with, I have 2 to 3 other issues left. I don't say, have I lost anybody, because it necessarily, I'm putting that on you, is the way that I explain things. Plus, I'm unloading. I tend to do that. I tend to dump a lot of information, I'm told. Now, So I'll take full responsibility for that. The bodies, I've discussed the bodies before, right? The issues. Oh, that was interesting. There was a bit of a freeze there. Okay. The bodies and the counts. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I have should have a pictograph of different evidence I compiled on that. Okay, good. Here we go. Now, Archie Thompson wasn't even a player. Nobody even mentioned his name in this one yet. Yet. And I'm like, Archie gonna be big. So is slipping my mind now. Anyway, don't worry. Okay. So Greenwich Mean Time, again, 4 hours. Okay, so that's actually meaning that it's out of Ontario, which I find interesting. Okay. To Chris Leather. See, that's oh, wait a second. This was 5:37. This is the Darren's sending it. This is why the headers are important. Okay, headers, Greenwich Mean Times, important. But let's not go there right now. Now, I've touched on CIC and MCU. Six confirmed deceased. 2 bodies outdoors. 4 more within residence. How do you know that? How do you know that at that point in time? It doesn't work because you put the other pieces together. Text message logs for incoming, outgoing texts. They like to use the color codes and all of this shit to distract, to lose people. 3:35 looks like 6 deceased coming from going from Campbell to Leather, whose notes doesn't start till later. Fast and Birdies. Leather just got off the phone with CIC commander in charge, Jeff West. 6 dead. Looks like 6 dead, okay? And they know about the domestic. How do you know that? Don Moser, the real Don Moser. Here we go again. 9:15. Jeff West just gave me an update. Remains active on arson. 3 homicide scenes. Preliminary is 4 males, 2 adult females. So basically, if you do the math between these statements, 6, here we go. This is from Leather's notes. 6-2 inside for outside at 7:12 in the morning. If you do the math, you're left with 2 males inside, 1 residence. Okay. That doesn't compute. So there is the, one moment, please. Okay. Good. Yes. I know there's a couple of people in here who know I've been kind of just waiting on a few things here. All right. Now, This is the FIS report, the Crime Scene Investigation Report. This report, which is column 18505, has every single crime scene in, it's all investigations. Sorry, it doesn't have all the crime scenes, but all of the things that appear in this statement, in this report, are crime scenes. But there is one residence which reads as follows. April 20th, 9:15, McKenna, who's the crime scene investigator, attended 45 Cobequid Court with Corporal Dean Martin to check on the residence the next day. Okay, so we know that Bentwood, McLeod, and Buggy, which seems to have gone off the map. Very interested to hear from Mr. Buggy. We're down there and checking, which opens another can of things, but I'm not, maybe I'll get into that. With Corporal Dean Martin to check on residents. The property was secured and no one answered the door. Now, Cindy said she was out, not at home. She was going to go, but for reasons I'll leave with her to disclose, she didn't go. Car things. Now, no one answered the door, but they had already checked the day before, right? McKenna gained access. That's a nice way of saying we broke in to the property and checked all of the interior rooms. There were no persons injured or deceased and no indication of anything of concern having occurred at the residence. Why would you have the need to break into a person's home? Make it on your report, which only includes crime scenes if nothing happened. Now, the first evidence I saw of this was with the head of MCU, Sergeant Vickers. Let's put that up on the screen, actually, because it's very interesting what they say about his notes. Rough notes, they're called in his case. Rough notes. They're not handwritten notes, they're just rough notes. Could that be because of what they contain? There is no such thing as rough notes. He is using his official notebook. How can you tell? Even though they're obscuring the pages, and there is some funny shit going on with this book too, it appears. 126, I believe. Let me just check. 27, 128, 129, 130. Here we go with a photocopy page. Okay, so you go from color. Think about this process again. Talked about this before. Process of you going over to the photocopier, photocopying a notebook. Flip the page. You're going to change from color to black and white and then change it back to color? No. Seems like something very fucked up with that. Okay, so here's Tara calling. We won't go into that right now. That's another issue entirely. And it's a big one. Those things are all going to come out. Now, let's back up in time. Well, 1648, 46 Cobequid Court, deceased, male. Deceased, male. Okay. 41 Cobequid Court, male, female, deceased. You know, yeah, maybe just some misidentification going on. But, you know, that was it. Emily, or, you know, Emily that was then discovered later. But even though you could see Jolene, just saying, okay. No. We have another notation here. 45 Cobequid Court. 3 bodies. Oh. Now we know that happened sometime between 448 and 657, I believe, is the next entry. So there's three separate entries. That's not a mistake. You don't mistakenly write another residence, do you? Takes time, effort. You know? Okay. Now, that's that. Does it appear elsewhere? Yes, it does. Call it rough notes. I call them notes because that's your official notebook. And you're the head of MCU. Or were at the time. Jerry was underneath you. MCU. It became an MCU op very, very quickly. Now, let's go to Janice Gray's notes. Okay. There's some interesting math going on, which I haven't quite figured out yet. I'm trying to decipher it. Oh, okay. Sorry. We're on the wrong time frame. 24th. The alert. Phony alerts getting thrown out by IMT. Issues management team. Issues management, always very damage control. War room. Sorry, close your eyes if it's making you dizzy. Give me one moment. The 20th, okay. Backing up. Okay, here we go. 355 is an entry. Well, here's for some reason they don't. Cindy's an important person. Cindy Byers, but I'm not going to go there right now. Okay, entry sometime post 355. This is Janice Gray, Chief Superintendent Janice Gray. So first we have the head of MCU, Chief Superintendent Gray, the solid line, right, to Ottawa, hanging on Leather's arm, doing lots of stuff, by the way. Lots of data gathering. That's her job before her husband comes in. Kind of been through that, right? Keeps it in-house. Then he's doing the ESDC investigations. He's doing the Hoyt investigation liaison. He's also the liaison with MCC. Handy that. His wife is solid line, dotted line. Dotted line to Leather, solid line to Ottawa. Okay, now, sometime post 355, we have an entry. 41, 46 Cobequid Court. 46 Cobequid Court, we have an entry for a male. 41, we have 2 victims, male and female. Okay, next page. 6:40 at night. This is almost 2 hours after they've done the check on Cobequid Court, the one they never wanted to do. Everybody drove by, even though it appears in their evacuation crayon shit in the command center. There's a board. It says Bayshore, so you know the time frame. Evacuations Bayshore, and then Cobequid Court. But nobody did anything on the south end of the road. You can see that in their contacts, their color codes and blue. Blue is the one that you look for. Maybe I'll bring that up. Will take me a minute. The texting wellness. That was why I was having a big problem, right? I know there's lots of things I just kind of am storing. 640. We already have the entry for 41 and 46. Now, 2 hours later, or more, we have an entry for 45 Cobequid Court. Possibly another 3 bodies. Okay, there is a series of numbers down here. I recognized them as soon as I saw them. Those are regimental numbers. RCMP numbers. Oh. This isn't the one I wanted. Kind of. It'll do. I've got it in my tray, I believe. Right, here we go with Janice's entry. 44561 is Heidi Stevenson. 56169 is Chad Morrison. It says Chad in the brackets. 4490. So we have the one person who was injured and one that was killed. I am not saying that this didn't, but I just find it very, very spooky because of the way that it's written. The way that it's written. To me, you have, give me one moment, please. You have a second entry. This is an indentation. To me, it looks almost like a subsection of 45. A subsection, right? To do with 45. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying what I see. That's all. I'm not saying anything happened. Just what I see. Who is the last number on there? $4490. 4490 is a lady by the name of Danielle Bernard. Married name Bernard. Maiden name is Ulmer. She's an inspector. And now I'll tell you how this went down. I made an officer in 2017. Now, when I was going through this, and there's somebody who can back me up on this because they're in the chat if they want to say that they can. Because I reached out to them because they're very good at finding things. I'm good, but I couldn't find a lot. So I'm like, utilize. This is why we're a team. Utilize what we can. So I said, can you dig up, because I can't seem to find a lot. Could find some entries. Okay, yeah, actually, this is going to spiral out. This is going to spiral out now. It's still not. Just wait. Just wait. We'll get there, though. So, can you find me stuff? Can you find me stuff? Because I couldn't find a lot. Couldn't find a lot. I found some. And so they came back with some of what I had found. And some new stuff appeared. Now, I had spoken about it on the phone. I would... it's not that I'm have feeling, I have hard evidence that my phone and my technology has been breached for a long time, as has family members' phones. Oh dear's computer just magically crashes, right? Okay. It's not a coincidence. But some new things appeared subsequent to some conversations that I had. I don't have these tabs open right now. Now, Daniel Ulmer, as best as I could find, originally was from Alberta and Saskatchewan. Depot, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, Alberta is the order. Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to say who, but there you go. So Todd did a bunch of digging. We visited on it, and I was like, could you please find stuff? Just let me know, because I'm having some issues here. So this one appeared, and he knew because he looked at it previously too when we originally visited about it. There wasn't very much, and all of a sudden some new things popped up hadn't found before. Funny that. NPF, National Police Federation staff. I don't know why this website looks like this. Everybody's just crammed in, but where do we go here? There we go. Daniel Ulmer, Labor Relations Officer. Okay, for the NPF. The NPF, which is the union for the RCMP, the one that plasters itself all over Facebook and Twitter with videos and sock accounts, fake accounts, telling everybody how, and they've got these studies that everybody wants to keep the RCMP, Alberta, Alberta and Nova Scotia, particularly. I've tweeted about those same exact numbers using the same polling firm. Come on. Well, obviously people have concerns. You have the video of it's the war room. It's the issues management team going on, NPF, with these sock accounts. So you have the video of who is it? One moment. Fahy did a video. Is that right? Fahy. EMRT. Very interesting video, just prior to his testimony about how great everything is and how they take care of members, save members. Anyway, okay. So that's kind of interesting. I thought, well, that wasn't there. That wasn't there. I believe Todd can back me up on that one. There's a couple of LinkedIn accounts. Now, one I did find originally, and then the other one I hadn't seen before. I don't think there's too many Daniel Ulmers. Okay. Now, let's hope I can get the article because that's rather important. Just going to open up some other stuff. Alberta. Oops. Okay. And right, here we go. Is this no, wait. The article I'm looking for. Oh, come on. Hopefully it's not deleted. There's some of the pictures from it, so I know it was around. Let's see. Here we go. That's the article. Okay, great. Not deleted, just kind of harder to find. Okay, now. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah. Alberta RCMP change of command ceremony welcomes Deputy Commissioner Curtis Zablocki. Okay. There we go. Some pictures and stuff like that. Curtis Zablocki comes in. He came in for a limited period of time. So I just, went off and was digging around, and he retired. I have to go by, sorry, because this is old memories and things like that. I have to. You had some interesting people retire. Let's not go there yet. Okay, so first let's find Danielle. Oh, my apologies. Yeah. Why is that not appearing? Flag. Oh, I see. Okay. Flag. Okay, so she's the flag party commander. Had Zablocki's transfer as inspector then. If I'm going right, this is 2018. 2018, yeah, I think so. Yeah, Zablocki, September 2018. Okay. Now, okay, interesting, right? Interesting. Now, good work. Okay, so Deputy Todd Sheen. Actually, let's not totally go off. Deputy Commissioner Zablocki. Deputy Zablocki came in and then he was out pretty quickly, as I recall. Brian Brennan, Curtis Zablocki. Interesting. All kinds of places you can go. Where is it? Retires. He was in for a very short period of time. So who retired? Sorry, Actually, it's Todd Sheen I'm looking at, I think. Yes. Okay, so this is where I went next, because I was like, oh, okay, Zablocki comes in. Who's going out? Is Todd Sheen. Todd Sheen. So there's a couple of names in this article that I was familiar with. Well, one, sorry. Is it going to give them to me? No. We had, ex-Edmonton police chief. Sorry, I'm going by memory. Ex-Edmonton police chief. He retired around about the same time. And who else retired? Lethbridge. Edmonton police chief used to be RCMP, heavily involved with the Moncton and the C8 stuff. The C8 studies and getting C8s. And interesting. Okay. Now, Todd Sheen. Let's go back to Todd Sheen here. Okay. University of Moncton. I like to read. Deputy Commissioner began his RCMP career in British Columbia. Not unusual. Very common. BC there. Home. Away from home. Away from Devo. At least for the time being, until they're booted out. I just what people want to do. Shortly after, he was posted to New Brunswick, where he gained extensive operational experience, led him to pursue financial and organized crime policing aspirations. Sheen was promoted to the superintendent 2005, named officer in charge of the Kodiak RCMP detachment. Okay. 2008, he was promoted to chief super, transferred to RCMP headquarters, Ottawa, oversee the national drug and organized crime operations. Oh, interesting. He returns to New Brunswick 2009 as the crops officer. Work closely with communities. Pretty neat history going on here. 2011, Deputy Commissioner Sheen returned to the RCMP headquarters. Assistant Commissioner, Financial Crimes. Got another bone. Leaves New Brunswick. Crops. Back to Ottawa. Assistant Commissioner, Financial Crime. Domestic duties, along with his domestic duties, Deputy Commissioner Sheen served on numerous international communities, fostering strong RCMP relationships among international law enforcement partners and stakeholders. Vomit when you see that word. His former positions on international committees include chair, this is what I was alluding to the other day, the G7 Law Enforcement Subcommittee, chair of the Five Eyes Criminal Intelligence Advisory Group. You remember me telling you about Five Eyes and RCMP? Oh, they're a big fucking deal. Five Eyes. Spy. Criminal. The chair of Five Eyes. Criminal Intelligence. And Vice President of America's Interpol Executive Committee. Interpol. Balin. intro. Okay. Now, gets more interesting. For me, maybe it's nothing. 2018, Deputy Commissioner Sheen retired from the RCMP, accepted a position with J.D. Irving as Director of Corporate Security. You know, like Irving Big Stop? Okay. Big wig over at Irving. Maybe nothing. Maybe. Give me one moment, please. That Rod-necked. Roger Chaffin. Rod-necked Edmonton Police. Former RCMP Assistant Commissioner. You know, like New Brunswick, Moncton. Okay, now, when I was looking this up, I came across a person that interested me. Was on the recommends. You know, those algorithms. That kind of makes it. Sometimes I make videos too. I make these videos in the background, right? Awesome. Todd Sheen, Director of Corporate Security. Was an individual by the name of Ken McDonald. Senior Director, CIBC, Corporate Security. Okay, so because I was
Five Eyes, Criminal Intelligence Advisory Group, and Vice President of America's Interpol Executive Committee. Sheen retired in 2018. Okay. To accept a position with J.D. Irving, Director Corporate Security. He went out at the
financial crime. Remember, financial crime.
Same time that Necht went out, former RCMP, right, and EPS, and Roger Chaffin, who was replaced by Neufeld or.
Oh yes. Oh, Neufeld. Right. Sorry, not Lethbridge. Okay. Anyway, these are just kind of notes to myself.
Whatever we have here in Calgary now. All right. Now, Todd Sheen, Director Corporate Security during the time, Irving Big Stop.
Okay.
Okay. Also out of New Brunswick. Interesting. On the side here was an individual by the name of Ken McDonald. Senior Director, CIBC, Corporate Security. CIBC. CIBC Brinks. All of that stuff.
You remember? CIBC Intra. You can find a few security things in the MCC website. Okay.
Also a leader in the RCMP, last officer in charge, integrated counterfeit enforcement team for Ontario. So both the corporate security heads of Irving and CIBC during the time frame of Nova Scotia are former bigwigs in the RCMP.
Now, he's just a sergeant, staff sergeant.
When I was going through Ken McDonald's
Ken McDonald is.
stuff, I also came across Ken McDonald, Peter German.
Okay, I don't know. This is going to get into areas that it's good to throw it out there, but probably going to lose a few people if I haven't lost many already.
Into LinkedIn, for some reason, I can't see Peter German on his LinkedIn connections, but it does have this post, so maybe it was formerly there. I'm not sure. So that led me over to, this is just a side note too, but it's an interesting one.
Peter German.
Before I go over to German,
Peter German is heavily tied with the Cullen inquiry out on the West Coast, financial crimes, finances. You see the finances running around here. Okay. Cullen inquiry also interceded in a very major which I mentioned a long time ago. So I don't know how many were watching back then, but senior RCMP allegedly aided accused officer. Deputy commissioner says it's RCMP's policy for accused man to see information. A statement of claim, then Superintendent Peter German improperly disclosed statements to Robert Blundell. Robert Blundell, who was involved in some not good things with some women. He was very high up in the Mr. Big program. I think I may have put some episodes of some things to do with that. Who came into his defense was Peter German. So he got some interesting things, right? Because Darren's ex-wife is, right? Sergeant Robert Blundell, who's facing allegations that he assaulted and sexually harassed 4 female Mounties. Court document alleged that German gave Blundell copies of internal investigation file, gave copies before Blundell was interviewed by investigators. Mr. Biggs. Very important. If he went down, that would cause a major problem. Documents have come to surface that suggest now Deputy Commissioner Peter German had shared complaints statements with Mr. Blundell and allowed him to prepare or tailor his responses in the interview, says Ottawa Paul Champ, who was not directly involved in the case, but worked on behalf of other clients who sued the RCMP. Sandra Kelly. This gets into this is a deep, deep rabbit hole on Blundell. Needless to say, he had 1-day suspension, was what he ended up with. If I'm recalling correctly, he took one lady, recruited her on the pretense that, hey, come and do some undercover work, which is like fantastic stuff for an officer. I'm just going by memory. Hey, come to town, Calgary. Went out for some drinks the night before, supposedly, right? doing their stuff, and then well, we should get a hotel room. Okay. Oh, yeah. There isn't 2 beds type stuff. You follow? Not very good. Turns out there was, of course, no operation. Not good. Not good at all. 1 day suspension. That was one. Start opening up other things like Catherine, Krista Carley, who ended up killing herself. You open up a lot of stuff. Kathy Mansley. Anyway, so we won't touch on that too much. I've mentioned some of it before, and definitely those of you who have been around since the beginning know about Catherine. And I'm very reticent to talk about that one because it's...
Facts Examiner, epic failure. The first duty of police is to preserve life through Nova Scotia massacre. RCMP saved no one. Paul Palango and the narrative of, what is this, the fuck it and all that stuff at the end of the road.
Okay, so if you go through, there'll be a comment here. Not saying, just interesting coincidence, same name, Kenneth MacDonald. You shouldn't have said executed Constable Stevenson. That implies official act sanctioned by law. Better to say he murdered her. Paul responds to that. Technical point. I agree. However, we will have to go back in time and change all references to gangland execution style to something else. Here we go on Peter German. Don't know if you recognize one of the recommendations there. It's Pascal. Pascal, who has a interesting history. Friends with Gray. Darren from out in BC. Poor Dusty, you know. Endorsed by Mark Neufeld. Oh, okay. See a few names on here I recognize, which I probably won't go through at this point in time. But there was one on here that caught my eye. Bruce Pitt Payne. Bruce Pitt Payne was the one that registered a complaint against Janice Gray for putting stuff on her LinkedIn that she shouldn't have been doing under official, no code of conduct for that, of course. So Peter German knows Bruce Pitt Payne, but also was involved on the other end, coming to save Blundell. I still don't understand quite how that works. And there's Janice. And Darren's ex-wife, and she was the spokesperson for the piggy stuff out in BC. Missing women stuff. Who, give me one moment. One moment, please. I have to go to my library to get books. You know, I like books. Books are good. Oh, look at that. Interesting, interesting. Is it not this book? Perhaps not. Give me one moment. Must be another one of my books. I'm not recalling which one, though, right off the top of my head. Lee Bergerman was heavily involved with the piggy stuff when she was BC, with a particular witness who was very important. Anyway, neat tie. How much deeper do you want me to go? Books are so 90s. I like books. Books are good. I'm just thinking here. Yeah, okay. There was a very weird case that happened here in Alberta many years ago. Just doing it by memory. I try. That's the best hard drive of all. Is my brain, though it operates slightly differently. So you remember very early on I talked about Butcher and Bergerman, right? 2020. Berger, Butcher, disclosure analyst. I was like, oh no, that wouldn't be very good. Wouldn't be very good at all if he was involved with this one. Which he did. Was involved. Now, was it Foothills County? Foothills County bylaw officer. Okay. This is a very, very strange case. I've never quite been able to unravel it. All right, where are we here? This is where I knew some about Bergerman Butcher. Trevor Klaczynski. One was a loner, slain officer, exuded loyalty. Pardon me. Accused said to have dog obsession. One was a loner near obsession of blue heeler dogs. The other was a dedicated retired Mountie, highly regarded near former undercover officer whose career RCMP spanned more than 35 years. Trevor Chiklinski, 46, is set to make his first court appearance Monday on first-degree murder charges. Pictures are emerging of both him and Ron Lansby. Ron Lansby's the officer. Very strange case indeed. This is from 2012. I can't remember when the murder happened. Pardon me. It's not coming to me. Anyway, let's continue. Lansby, a rural bylaw officer, he is accused of beating to death. Lansby was attacked Friday while investigating an animal complaint tangled Spur Ranch north of Pritis, one of the series of calls, unpermitted kennel on the property. Lansby retired from RCMP 2006 with full pension, taken a job as a peace officer with the MD of Foothills to be closer to his daughter, according to friends. Friends and former colleagues said Lansby had an X factor that made him a top police officer, often working undercover to gather evidence in major homicide cases. He was serious about his work, and could also understand people from all walks of life, said RCMP then Inspector Lee Bergerman, who worked with Lansby on several major cases and would even pose as his wife undercover. She was stunned to learn he had been killed while leaving behind a wife. Leaving behind a wife and daughter. It's ironic because this guy, who for some 30 some odd years put murderers in jail, gets murdered himself. Essentially a barking dog complaint. It's ridiculous, she said Sunday. So loyal was Lansby to the RCMP and policing that he wore his red serge when he got married in Mexico about 20 years ago. His best man at his wedding was Mike Butcher. Met Lansby in 1979 when they worked together as RCMP officers in Vancouver. Lansby, Mike Butcher, Lee Bergerman. Okay. Lansby was quiet, always respectful, diligent in his work, wouldn't waste word. He was an undercover officer of extraordinary talent, what Butcher calls a, quote, creative policeman who could role play. He could switch into a bad guy with, quote, relative ease, quote, and then go back to, quote, quiet, unassuming again, Butcher said. Lansby managed to affect an Italian accent so convincing that it worked on at least one undercover case. Quote, he put his life on the line as much as any other police officer in Canada and did some very unique and dangerous work, Butcher said. He was also a community volunteer in the Okotoks Oilers hockey team. Said a statement that Lansby played mascot ringer. Foothills bylaw officer Jeff Carpenter acknowledged ongoing issues with Kliczynski, but added that officers had reason to believe things were headed in a positive direction, end quote. Kliczynski, who was operating a kennel without the appropriate permits, had been taking steps to resolve the matter, Carpenter said. Lansby, who had been working with the dog owner to obtain licensing for a kennel where dozens of dogs were kept. But we thought things were going to have a successful conclusion, Carpenter said. While Lansby's family is still grieving, it could be some time before MD undertakes review of Friday's incident, Carpenter said. Quote, can there be charges? Was there something that could be done differently? At this time, we don't know, he said. Quote, there's a lot of shock, trauma right now, one that has to run its course. We'll certainly look into practices that we have. Kliczynski, born in Calgary, according to his uncle. His mother died in 1998. Father passed away in 2005. For some years, the suspect had been into dogs, Ray Kliczynski said. Recently, he seemed to have money troubles as Ray had received calls from a collection agency looking for Trevor. The uncle learned the television news that his nephew was accused of killing a police officer. I was shocked, but in no way surprised. But in a way, not surprised. He seemed to me to be on the outside, in quote, Ray Klaczynski said. There are those who have good things to say about Trevor Klaczynski, his landlord, Bruce Adams. He was a whiz with car mechanics, computers. Whiz with everything. He was always hard to find, but he was always hard to find. Adams said he never saw Klaczynski on the property. He would put a note on the door. Klaczynski would turn up Adams' place down the road. The dogs, Adams said, seemed like a fetish for the suspect. Quote, the dogs were his life, Adams said. He was a loner. He never talked to anybody. He talked to the dogs or whatever he did. The dogs have been a problem before former landlord Wayne Ryder rented the acreage west of Turner Valley to Klaczynski in 2009. But the dogs were also housed in sheds on the property. Neighbors began to complain about the barking. This is 2012. Ryder said, got a call from the municipality and the peace officer about a problem, and finally went to court to get Klaczynski out in October 2009. Quote, my place was the first place, Ryder said. That's when he decided to decided to start raising dogs. He's going to make millions of dollars doing it. Now, why is that relevant, you would say? Well, aside from the fact that Bergerman and Butcher, we've got the RCMP ties and undercover work. It's too bad I can't find the reference I'm looking for. About Bergerman and undercover work on the piggy stuff. But, sorry, not undercover work that I know of, but questioning a very key witness in respect to it. Relevance of it is that this case, which they don't get into any detail about Lansby's murder, which is, I don't think I've used an expletive here, this video. Completely fucked up, like really messed up. I feel badly. It's so bizarre. Let's see if we can find it. But there is one more toy. Inquiry on mental health. It may take me a moment to find this article. Because the details are just utterly shocking. Let's try this one and see. I don't know. I can't recall which one it is. Alberta man found not guilty in peace officer's death. The judges ruled that a man who killed an Alberta peace officer 2 years ago is not criminally responsible for the death. Trevor Klaczynski was charged with first-degree murder, okay, premeditation, very serious, in the death of Rod Lansby, 2012. The judge ruled that Klaczynski's mental state meant he probably did not realize that what he was doing was wrong. Lansby, who is now 62, murdered after going to Klaczynski's rural property south of Calgary to investigate a complaint with Lansby, retired RCMP officer responsible for enforcing bylaws, municipal district of Foothills near Calgary. Doctors testified at Klaczynski's trial that he was, quote, actively psychotic, end quote, and his lawyer argued that her client was not criminally responsible due to mental health disorder. Good night, Tara. I hope you have a good sleep. You deserve it. An autopsy found Lansby was strangled. 56 abrasions, contusions, and lacerations to his face, head, neck, and body back. He also suffered numerous internal injuries. Klaczynski admitted that he caused Lansby's death. He acknowledged dropping the officer off, handcuffed and unconscious at a southeast Calgary police station, where he told officers he apprehended a dog thief. What? This is the most bizarre case I think, actually, and I know a few cases. It's very bizarre. So Lansby goes out to deal with numerous complaints on Klaczynski, and Klaczynski, not to get graphic, but beats, strangles him unbelievably, handcuffs him with his own handcuffs, drives him back to Calgary from Pritis, which is a distance, goes to a Calgary police station and walks in and says, I have a guy in his car, by the way, in his own vehicle, in the bylaw vehicle. I have apprehended a dog thief outside. And he ended up dying. Bizarre, right? Very. So, why is that relevant? Well, it is relevant. This may take me a moment. In this sense, excuse me. Okay, so Brenda Forbes, right? Is interviewed by, I don't think this is the one. Oh, yes, Kuka and Olford. Okay, Kuka and Olford. Kuka, this is in Alberta. She lives, I don't know how far that would be from here, but quite a ways away. Kuka, Olford, Lansby. Am I going to find this? Now, in researching Mr. Kuka and Mr. Olford, I found out that they're involved in the Klaczynski-Lansby case, which I found very strange. Oh, come on. They're involved in all of that. The two officers who interviewed Brenda are also involved with the Lansby case. And I was like, what? What? It's a weird world. things into this, but I won't. So the chat is really quiet. It seems like I've lost a few people. Okay. Unfortunate. I try, but CSE rewrote the library. Okay. So, oh, yes. And on that note, there were serious concerns immediately by the RCMP in respect to Branda. Sit rep. Let's see if we can find that. There we go. Media. Will this have a list of all of her articles? No, that she never talked to anybody. Pretty sure it's Kuka and Holford. Oh, maybe it's the spelling. Holford might be out. That's it. That's why I'm probably not finding it. They don't. I'd have to sit rep report. Kind of buried in amongst some stuff. But the RCMP is having a lot of concerns about Branda's statement. Is it Angela McKay? I'm recalling. CSI Bulletin. Yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish. Dwayne Cooper. Dwayne Cooper's an important one. Will we hear from Dwayne? I don't know. Sit rep. Multiple homicides. Don't. I'll have to turn it up. I'll do it in a different video. Quite interesting how concerned that the RCMP, the language even that they use about Brenda is like, it doesn't seem to match up. We're having a lot of issues. Is it in my tray? Maybe it is. One moment. I mean, these statements that she's making are just unbelievable. Unbelievable. We can kind of take care of ourselves. Self-preservation. We both have like FACs. We can protect ourselves. You come by my house and try and burn it down. Bye-bye. No. The implications that one of the concerns I know for sure that they said that they had, the RCMP had, was that they said, well, she definitely states that or implies that they have weapons in the house. Why is it such a problem? The facts aren't seeming to match up to. You want more? I'll give you more. I can give you more. Weird stuff. It's pretty late down there, and I've been going for 2 hours, dumping quite a bit. I don't know, but if you want more, there's more. I got more. There's always more. The previous statements on this one. Yeah, Mr. Wagner. I don't know what you're doing. Okay, there was some. Yes, please. Okay. Now, there was an interview I read, and I think I've discussed some of the components of that It's not sitting in my tray because I've taken too many pictures. This is going to take forever to load. There was some interviews done with ECMI, which is your in Nova Scotia is your privatized ambulance service. I think they also handle the 911 component of that too. Okay, let's see here. Where were we? There certainly was debriefing going on of the people, of the ambulance drivers. I'll have to stir that up somewhere else, but they had them go off, and they separated them. One of them, there's an interview with two ambulance drivers who drove two of the kids. And they spoke about, there were some interesting things in their interview. They talked about McDonald's on foot, or sorry, not on foot, Wortman on foot shooting McDonald. I talked very little about everything that happened, but they did talk about how after everything was done, there were these kind of trauma sessions that they had with everybody, and they separated them kind of all. And there weren't people that they worked with. There were kind of other people in the room at these trauma seminars, or I don't know, whatever. And I, reading through the stuff and looking into it, I was like, wow, it seems to me like they're debriefing these people. They gave them the option also of confidential support services, and they gave them a 1-800 number of an out-of-province place that they hadn't used before. And they said, oh, you can use what services we have right now, or you can call this 1-800 number, which they weren't familiar with, and it will be confidential. Well, of course, they're like, well, I'm going to call the 800 number because it's confidential. And so then, what does that mean? Well, there's people speaking about everything. You're learning what everybody else knows, right? Kind of like that story about the psychological services being offered, and the lady had never met he wasn't a counselor. He was a police officer. And she met the real person. I don't know if you remember that story. Anyway, very interesting in reading that. Okay, so let's go over to some things to do with ECMI. Okay, so we had 19 claims filed with WCB because of the events in this workplace injury event. So the timing of the claims, very interesting, very typical of very typical, they say, very larger events. Now, I'm not sure where they're gathering that data from. I'm assuming just from research, because I don't think, obviously, larger events have happened like this down in Nova Scotia, in Canada, frankly, is we had 5 claims filed in April 2020. We had 6 within 6 months of the event. We had 8 after 6 months. So that's a total of 19 claims. Of those 19 claims, 3 of them were for medical aid only. which means they didn't lose any time at work. They just needed psychological support. Okay. So WCB will cover the medical aid. 16 of them lost time in varying degrees. Currently, we have 12 of the 19 that have returned to work. This is as of 2022, I believe. We have 6 that remain on leave, and we have 1 that resigned from the organization. And that resignation was a direct result of, I can't determine that. Gotcha. I just want to make sure I understand too. These numbers, are they claims in general, or are you trying to determine some way that they're directly related? Are you able to determine that they're directly related to the April 18th and 19th? There's indication through our health and wellness division that they are directly related. Now, that's not to say that these cases weren't complicated by other events, as you know, but this can be the best. This is the best that we can determine. So we still have 10 individuals undergoing treatment. Okay, I just want you to factor that piece in, okay? Because there's another piece I'm going to bring in here. First, we'll go to another statement, so I got to close that. I'll bring it up. Is it this one? No. Wow. Something's being very friendly with me right now. Okay. Now, is it this one? Okay, so the large cache of ammunition, remember I mentioned, that was disclosed apparently right away. I'm not understanding. Back to, Odier's point, on information that was coming out, and of course the 350 reference to domestic violence. How you would know this, I don't know. Mark, do you know if your team was made fully aware the perpetrator was operating a fully marked, faked police car? So we became aware of it at 7:30 in the morning. The suspect's girlfriend was transported by our ambulance. And she disclosed at that point that he had access to an RCMP replica vehicle. That didn't come until later, but okay. I'm trying to remember when. It was one of the later things she mentioned. A large cache of ammunition. Never heard that. And weapons. So that was when we learned of the mobility component of it. And that may be the very moment that the police learned of that as well. I'm not sure, but that's the point in time where it became apparent to us that much of the different scenario then fire standby, and that's where we were up against here. So just to be clear, you learned that from the patient, not from the police. That's when it was reported to us. Okay, now these are executives, but I'm sure they kind of know what's going on. That's when now what information was shared member to our member, like police member to paramedic or leader on the scene, maybe slightly different than that. But that's that early moment in time. We were advised there was a mobile situation. So your member reached out to you and your communication about that. No? Correct. Okay, skipping forward. Started to become aware. Okay, well, actually, I should read this. And that was broadcast your paramedic team at large. So our first communication, so at that point in time, actually right around that point, is when our director of operations at that time got involved and reached out to Health Services Emergency Management Network, which is Nova Scotia's health and DHW. Well, I don't know what that is actually. Network of support. That was around the time that it started to become more clear that it was a volatile situation. And it was, I'd have to look at the specific time. I believe it was around 9 a.m. that we put out our first widespread communication to all our staff that this is the scenario. And we had a picture of a replica car. We had a picture of the assailant. And we advised at that point in time, we placed our paramedics in the station and we told them, don't leave. Lock doors. Lock the doors. Don't go to ambulance calls. Sorry, I'm going to jump for 1 second. That's another point about the third one on how they would know where Chad Morrison is and doesn't make sense. I wish I've never. So you have the GPS, real life time on his car, which is working. You have his calls that are going into the OCC on the East Hants channel, and lots of members listening on both channels. If there was any issue, I'm sure they would have communicated that. The third point is, how can you dispatch an ambulance if you don't know where he is? You can't. So they knew. Or something's awry. So locking the doors, right, in the spaces. There was a point in time that we stopped responding to ambulance calls unless we had a police escort, because it was uncertain as to what was going on. So that was a challenging time for us. But we had regular updates from our staff about, here's what we know at this point. But that information that we were sharing was public knowledge at that point in time. We just were relaying it through our intranet, and our tablets. They don't know what the fuck is going on in the morning. They don't even, volatile situation. Became clear that it was volatile in the morning. But there are ambulances that everybody has access to and come up, and that we call bursts, and we let people know of the evolving situation at that point. From where? From social media. Okay. Pretty much internally. Okay. Not sure if you can speak to this or not. Understanding that you weren't on the ground that night, but certainly the night before, there are a few patients transported, and so some of that understanding of what was happening, correct, could be understood, that information that was being learned even just through those patients. So I'm just trying to reconcile that with, or trying to understand, I guess, after those patients were transferred, and in between then and becoming aware of the mobile nature. They don't know that there was a car. I don't know anything's moving. There was, in fact, a police or mock cruiser. Can you help me understand? Like, I don't understand on the ground was. Like you mentioned that there was fire standby. Was the general sense that this had somehow come to a conclusion? Or again, this is not my direct experience as in not being there. This was the feeling that was being relayed to me as part of the team to review this, was that it was largely believed that the assailant was within one of the buildings, or one of the deceased was on site, of course, which never still they've been able to answer how they suddenly just figured out he was alive when nothing had happened and that he left, unless maybe the dash cam answered or somebody said that he drove by or people drove by. I think a general thought, nobody was certain what was going on. I mean, clearly police didn't know what was going on either. It was an intense situation. But that was the feeling that people express of a fire standby. Controlled. This is probably over. But we're here as standby support. Fire standby. It's the people that we saw. We did see before daybreak had transported. Okay, now I'm trying to unravel this one. So please help me if you can. Hello, Charlene. Help me if you can understand this statement. We did see up to before daybreak, we had transported 5 patients as part of it. And we had assessed 2 others we didn't end up transporting. Okay, so I'm assuming for children, Andrew McDonald, and Katie and somebody else. McDonald. Right? The first patient we had an injury. Okay. Again, the language. I'm kind of big on the language. Had an injury, and we needed to provide medical care. Everybody else that uninjured, no medical care was required. Oh, okay. It was transport resources for 4 patients. And then 1 patient that came out that had been involved in the events earlier, but had come out of the woods, just required assessment. That was it. Okay. Required assessment. That's just looking at somebody. So we weren't seeing any high acuity patients to get a sense that this is going on. Active, that there's like major injury down there. Odd. Very, very odd. That was the general feeling. I think everybody's looking at it through hindsight, trying to piece those puzzles together and saying, yeah, there's enough there to suggest that they could have responded differently, including us. Okay, so they go on to some other things, but I'm trying to understand the numbers. Doesn't sound very major. High acute, there's not high acuity. Somebody needs an assessment. 1 patient, transport resources for 1 patient. They had been part of the events hours earlier. I'm thinking that's Lisa who had come out of the woods. So where's Andrew in that? I'm not picking it up. There should be transport for 6 people. Okay. Yeah, come out of the woods patient. You also have Clinton. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that kind of seemed very strange to me. Now, two other pieces with that. Let's stay on. One moment. Okay. Oh, that was doing its thing. I'm loading stuff that's in my tray, which I only have 10 that are available quickly. But there's 1,000. So actually, I'm just looking at the list. But it takes a little longer to load it. And now, no, that's not the one I want. No. Bollocks. Shoot. That's not the one either. But I'm going to need that one. So. Okay, here it is. I think they say about 9. I'm not sure. The interview is with Paula Martell, Mark Walker, Nicole Elizabeth. This one. Sorry, oh dear. I wish I could. I can go back. I'll send it to you. So it was our EPSO paramedic was Sean McLaughlin, and our operations supervisor was Lisa Hutt. Those two were in and then escorted out of incident command. Okay. So Lisa Hutt and Sean McLaughlin went into the command center, which seems reasonable, and were, well, they'll get into it. The timing of that, I believe, was when things in the morning got very intense. In the morning. This isn't the overnight that you could argue was a bit of a more runaway to work with. Yeah, I don't believe that there was any effort on our part to knock on the doors and say, let us in the overnight hours. We weren't invited in to the command center. EHS. You're not a part of this. We didn't ask to go in, but in the morning when things became uncertain and what we would consider increased risk for our organization, the language. Ooh, we attempted to make contact and access and weren't able to. What? They didn't involve EHS. But it gets better. And you didn't have any sense, I guess, it would have been Lisa that you mentioned, that it was requested that someone attend the command center in Dartmouth Okay, so there's a command center also in Dartmouth. Do you have any idea where that request came from? So that wasn't Lisa. Lisa was the operations supervisor in Portapique at the time. Oh, I see. Okay. The operations supervisor that we sent to that scene here in Dartmouth, that was coordinated through our director of operations at the time, Jeff Fraser, had made some phone calls to try to figure out what was going on in the morning. And we were asked through that process to send our supervisor to the command center here in Dartmouth. And who was that supervisor? His name was Richie Gilby. He passed away 3 weeks ago. ECMI, another executive, says, we've had a lot of death in our organization. Nicole Elizabeth, the interviewer for Mass Casualties, says, you have? Yeah. Richie Gilby was 48 years old, I believe. Terrible to lose your life so young from a cardiac event, I believe is what it's labeled as. Unbelievably horrible. Somebody must have been looking at him additionally, because just like the Wayland Psychological Services, I don't know, it's maybe somebody in this group, has archived his obituary a few times. I wasn't the first to get there, so I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. 1973 to 2022, January 16th. Wow. Involved with Swiss Air 111. He was instrumental in organizing that. Swiss Air 111 pops up a lot. Now, I think I mean, obviously, I'm not saying anything, but a cardiac event. I just find it very odd that Nicole Elizabeth, because throughout the interview, I haven't seen mention of any other deaths, yet she seems to know. MCC seems to know that the ambulance organization has had a lot of, I'll use their words, had a lot of death in their organization. The MCC seems to know about it. Now, that's not the first person involved in the story that has died. I guess that that's for another day. Okay. So the only person that was involved, permitted to be in the know of what was going on, died. The other two were removed. Weren't invited in and were removed. But it gets stranger. So there's this interesting interview, they call it an interview, with Sean McLaughlin. Greg Wolf, Luke Sliles is doing the interviewing of Sean McLaughlin and Nathan Smith. I'm not familiar with who Nathan Smith are, and I don't understand Greg Wolf and Luke. I think they're other paramedics. Now, it says interview, but it certainly doesn't read like an interview. This reads kind of like, one moment. The questionnaire that was sent out to Lillian Heislop's husband. And that was it. There was nothing else. A one-off. Very different. What role did you play in the event? Nathan and Sean are partners. They came in. They saw they came in early. Okay, so they were in the morning. Saw via social media what was going on via social media. Came in 1 hour earlier. Watch commander aware? Was the watch commander aware? They're questioning that. I don't know. Liaison with watch commander and other unit in the Great Village Fire Hall. What information did you receive about at shift change from who? No information received at shift change. Okay. You getting the gist yet? They don't know what the fuck is going on. And they're not even seeing evidence that there's something serious going on. Prompted MCC, which I don't know what MCC stands for. Oh. Well, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry for his family. Young. That's young. Wow. Too much death all over the place. This is just not good. MCC wasn't aware that they were starting early. Again, I don't know what MCC is. If you guys have thoughts, I've asked a couple of people, but if you have thoughts, please let me know. Or, as always, leave anything in the comments, corrections, anything, help, tips, whatever. Watch Commander Gillis aware that they were going on early. So they came in early. Morning actions logged on 1 hour early. Okay, we have this hour business again. 1 hour drive to Great Village Fire Hall. Switched over to a talk group assigned. No info provided or traffic through the vehicle. Wow. Wow. Spooky. Lisa called en route. Mentioned that. Okay, so they're not getting a lot of radio traffic? Medical Command Center? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jay. Welcome. Hello, Mr. Moneypenny. Long time. Lisa called en route. Mentioned that. Now, when I read that, I just went with that it was Lisa Hutt, but we'll see that there's something else. Okay, when do you get the significance of the event was identified? Knew prior to the event that it was significant as a result of social media. 4 to 5 people dead as to their knowledge, rapidly escalating upon arrival. Okay, where they're getting that from, they don't ask, of course, because it's not really an interview. This seems to be something that's just paper copy that's sent out. Do you recall your staging area? Did that change your involvement in the event? Because it's bullet points, right? This is not sentences. Great Village Fire Hall was the location the whole time, but it was hard to make the decision on whether or not to move to a better location as the situation evolved. Not assigned any active calls when we were there. Now, I'm not sure if he's speaking, they're speaking for themselves or they're speaking for Lisa Grotto. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I'll have to put that into the sentences. Does it work? It'll come up some more. Are they speaking for themselves or are they speaking for other ambulances? Not assigned any active calls while we were there. Remained at the staging area until the suspect was deceased. Now that's protocol until they know. So it sounds like big stop until they know that the people have been, the situation is no longer a threat and people are, anyway. EPSO. So EPSO is this interesting emergency. I looked it up. It's a different type of thing. And one of the ladies actually being interviewed doesn't disclose that she's EPSO from ECMI. No, it's a great thought. It's a great thought. Okay. Great thought. EPSO unit. So this is like, I think, kind of the mobile command center for ambulances, but it's also a company. EPSO unit stayed on scene as they may need to do receive work. I'm not familiar with the term, so perhaps somebody can help me with that one. RCMP told EHS to leave, not required. What information was received upon arrival at the scene? So we don't know what time they came, which is obviously a very important question. I think Ken figured it out though from the logs. Though they have a lot of people going in and playing things with them. What information was received upon arrival at scene? Greg Pinio, okay, so we've discussed Greg before, being Rob and Derek, RCMP Derek, who was killed on the line of duty in Saskatchewan, cousin, okay? Derek and Rob are brothers, very tragic. Greg Pinio on scene, spoke for a time. Greg Pinio knew about potential RCMP replica vehicle. Okay, so he knew about the RCMP replica vehicle. Okay, interesting. Describe the leadership structure on the ground ops on the day of the event. Lisa Croto? Lisa Hutt? Not sure. Typo for rescue. They may need to do rescue work. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good, Peter. Thank you. Describe the leadership structure for the ground ops on the event that day. The event. This stuff is really beginning to bug me. Lisa in watch commander vehicle. No clear role as EPSO specialist. We don't know what's going on. Start. Lisa Hutt a problem. This was and that's the end. That's the end of that sentence or that point, bullet point. Of course, not interview, it's bullet points. This part appears to be removed. Quality of this report is subject to Nova Scotia Quality Improvement Information Protection Act. Well, it's not very quality. Personal Health Information Act. I don't know if they're just using that as an excuse. No idea. This was pre-something. I don't think it's medical. Okay. Put up roadblocks is the next point. Felt like Lisa intentionally got in their way. Did not elaborate into entrance RCMP EOC, Emergency Operations Center. Did not elaborate that. Unified command system could not get gear set up. Jaywalker, okay, Jaywalker's EPSO, had clear instructions. Unified command, start email thread. Okay, paper trails. Provide routine sitrep. Told Sean, who's one of the people who's being interviewed, I presume. There's not spelling the name right, I think. I don't actually know the spelling, sorry. Told Sean to be the communications lead. Jay told Sean to be the communications lead, but Lisa was finding information and having her own conversations without the team. Lisa Hutt, one of the command people, was having conversations, getting in somebody's way. I don't know who, whether it was other ambulance people, RCMP, and not sharing what she learned. Lisa did not keep people in the loop, spoke privately with Greg Pinio and Lisa Hutt routinely. Now, who is Lisa? Lisa Croteau? So we have a Lisa with no last name. Does Lisa Croteau fit there? Lisa Croteau was finding out information, having her own conversations without the team. Lisa Croteau did not keep people in the loop, spoke privately with Greg Pinio and Lisa Hutt, who was one of the people on the ground in charge, the person in the ground in charge for ambulances. Routinely, Sean spoke with Lisa Croteau, I don't know, about having asked to have more of a team effort. Didn't help anything. Felt like a broken command structure right from the beginning. Felt like Jay was his direct leader. Lisa did not. So I'm thinking that's Lisa Hutt, but I don't know. Don't know. How did leadership evolve as the event unfolded? Not answered. 9, describe the level and method of communication to leadership and the mobile, what did you say? I like that. I like that one. Mobile command center. Okay. Medical command center, sorry. During the event. What? It's not in a... Later in the morning, Jay called and was mobilizing people. Communication with MCC. Dedicated talk group used. Limited communication in this talk group. General operations. Okay, so I'm getting a sense quiet. Not keeping a lot of things off traffic. Intranet and tablet use only, pretty much. The only way EPSO group knew about the cardiac arrests calls in other northern areas was listening to North 1, not told to do this. Interesting. MCC was sending crews for cardiac arrests that were actually shootings. Excuse me? What? They're told that they're cardiac arrests, but they're actually shootings? Oh, okay. EPSO unit told MCC not to send crews to these cardiac arrests as they were related. This stuff is spooky. Spooky. This communication was duplicated with Lisa as there was a breakdown in command. Dedicated dispatcher was not used, was always taking someone to different. This was communication breakdown within the MCC. There were too many middle men on the MCC side. I don't know if it's taking, talking, not sure. It was always talking to someone, was always taking to someone different. Not sure. 10. A hell of an interview, you can see. It's a hell of an interview. Big difference between a cardiac event and a gunshot wound. Yeah. Did communication evolve during the event? No encrypted radios, so it was informed for us to keep info off radio. Okay. Don't talk about anything. I certainly noticed that when listening to the calls right at the beginning. I'm like, there would be very little information in here. Everything kept to phone and email. I don't know. Phone and email. Tablets? Okay. Install email to group included replica, initial email to group included replica RCMP information. I guess from Greg Pinio. Sounds like. How was communication between EHS and RCMP while on scene? Poor. Most information was coming from overhearing RCMP radio, eavesdropping. Greg Pinio seemed to have information, included fake RCMP officer. Interesting. Oh, okay. Seems like Greg knows what's going down. Got into RCMP about 13, got into RCMP for about 13 seconds. Told to get out. They put a guard on the door after this. What? They weren't allowed in. Then when they wandered in, they were kicked out after 13 seconds. Don't you think that they should be involved with what was going on in the command center so that they know that it's, I don't know, not a heart attack or a cardiac, whatever? What the fuck is going on? Put a guard on the door. I guess they really didn't want anybody to know. This fake RCMP car was known approximately 30 minutes prior to RCMP. Who was that again? I'm if I'm reading that, I guess it's Greg Panio knew about the fake RCMP car before the RCMP knew about the car. Paramedic Greg Panio, Rob Panio, Greg Panio, Derek Panio. I don't know, but that I'm just reading what it says here. That's the way it seems to read, because it said found out about the car through Greg Panio. But the RCMP didn't know about it. How did they not know? Wasn't Brown and Melanson in the ambulance with Greg and Ashley? Greg Panio and Ashley? I'm not following. They would be off to the hospital? I'm not getting it. More information from RCMP Twitter feed than the officer standing right beside us. Yeah, but they said that the RCMP didn't know. It did seem to come, the car knowledge seemed to come out later. But what's going on? What resources were available to assist you in managing the role in this event? Sorry, in this event. Example, action guidance cards, etc. Trailer would have provided a EHS EOC, Emergency Operations Center. I guess you need a trailer. Human resources, J activated EPSO team, which is this other entity, but provided no information. They reported to Wade with no information available. All these EPSO people just started driving through Truro to Wade Base. Now, Wade Base, I'm assuming, I don't know who that was. It was just who I was talking to about that, but maybe that's the EHS name of the EHS station, this Wade Base. I'm not sure. EPSO team should have radios so that they can turn them on and listen so they know what's up. Okay. Only have the IC ambulance code gray action guidance card on EPSO from PDF. Sorry, anybody who's paramedic knowledge, maybe can. CIC didn't want survivors. I don't know. I'm just reading. If the event happened again, what resources would make it easier to navigate? Something that helps identify EHS and external agencies as an EPSO group. EPSO program needs more to identify them as specialized, appellate, etc. Appellate, I believe, is the word doesn't even work. I can't remember definition of my language. It's something to do with nose or something, ear. Appellate is hair removal. I don't know. Look like nothing more than another ambulance. Other notes could have done better. Whoever was on duty the 18th TN there should have been resources and people notified well in advance from when they were. No codes. Okay, again, I'm not, but no codes till 8 o'clock. I can only think of like coding, code hospital, coding till 8. 8. Okay. EPSO should have been activated the night prior. So I found that all very odd. And I can tell you, reading through other stuff, it's not just guards on the door. It was armed guards, was the way it was referred to. Armed guards. So apparently they really didn't want anybody in there. And then the one person who does happen to get let in down in Dartmouth, coincidentally and very unfortunately, or let's just say, not even coincident, I'm not even going to say anything, just does die from a cardiac event. Cardiac event. Just like the interviewer knew of that there had been a lot of death. In ECMI. How they would know that, I don't know. But I'll tell you, it's very, very strange. Anyway, okay, so that's like 3 hours. It's 1 o'clock. Geez, your time. And I've got a few other things off my plate. And I know somebody's going to be upset because one of the big ones I didn't talk about. But 40, I mean, there's a few here, right? And you throw that in conjunction with some other ones I've thrown in along the way. Yesterday, Dorrington was a good one, and whatever. I think there was a couple yesterday that I did. So check those out too if you have a chance. Listen, so 75,000 pages. These people are hiding shit. And I'm sure people can gather that by now. I read a lot, and I have for years. I know a lot of different connections, and I have people who help me who know far more than I. And this is unlike anything even I've ever seen before. And I've studied some doozies. This is fucking unreal. Unreal. And frankly, it's very obvious that there is a lot of spinning and deflection and misdirection going on. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just trying to provide the facts as best I can. But there's a lot of problems. Like lots. And we'll get into the big parts on the bigger scheme of things. Maybe tomorrow. God bless you all. Okay, sorry, I'll just clean up a couple of comments here because you guys have been saying lots, and of course I just go on. Medical staff, all vax. I'm not. I have my views on things, and I think people generally know them, but I don't. Along the way, I can't, because I know I know their ways, and they'll torpedo me if I do anything. So which makes me feel really badly because I kind of know certain things that are going to happen. Hopefully God will forgive me for all the mistakes I make. They would know if they were trying to get a hold of people. They were trying to interviews and found a lot died. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Great point. Unless this is a follow-up to the comment about cardiac events and gunshots, I think. MCC was using cardiac as code to keep the magnitude of the weekend off unencrypted comms, and they didn't think to inform responding units. Now, I don't think I heard anything about, again, though, up north one. I don't know if I ever heard that channel. Interesting point. Yeah. Code. Could be code. But you'd think internally that they would be telling these people. They didn't tell them anything. In fact, the way that they answered, they don't even think anything's going on in the morning. That's from shift changes and internal messaging. It's spooky, man. Spooky. Frequency. Okay. Pretty epic. Hypothermia, Chad. So I'm going back here. Sorry. Chad claimed no one was there at 11 o'clock and that they came later. Yes. His communication stops at, what, 11? On the radio, 11. I can't quite remember. Shortly after 11. He definitely wants into the, and no stripe on his pants. I'm a good guy. No stripe on my pants. Not sure why mentioning that. Not sure why nobody knows where he is. What time did they say? Okay, yeah, I'll try and get that for you. Inman's already at EHS station before Chad arrived. Maybe there were two people inside. They said that they didn't even know. As I recall, just going by memory. That's quite a long time ago. I was looking into that, but I think that there were two members inside. And they were told to lock the doors, and they didn't know that anybody was outside. But that's just by memory. So health wellness sounds more like intelligence gathering. Yes, absolutely. The health wellness checks for the white shirts, health wellness checks for ambulance employees to the 1-800 number. Very transparent to me. Brandon Media release Dugan's case. Dugan, which was an excellent point too. Todd brought that up, and though I've discussed, I found some of the videos. Susie Bootlin, since 2020. I don't think I quite factored that in, that they are using or could be using the MCC to cover up Susie Bootlin's case of the domestic violence, which was not dealt with at all. And here they're going to say, well, you know what? We know lots about. There's quite a huge report, 293 pages about Susie Bootlin on the MCC website. I have not had a chance to, other than I've seen it, I've not had a chance to read it. I don't know if anybody has. But excellent point about how, use the Brenda, Lisa, throw that one in there to cover up complete and utter guffaw, menace to society. Really? Ends up dead? Murdered. Horrible. Didn't Kodiak get involved? Called in for Portapic? Could be wrong. Yes, Kodiak did come in. Oh, I don't. I know. I can prove. Actually, I can prove. A lot of funny games over the years. Not just with my channel. It's all receipts. Just keep storing. Thank you for those, I guess, hitting likes. I really appreciate it. The share. The shares, really, please. The shares and comments. Because I need all of your guys' help. Families do. Or rewrote to submit to MCC. Okay. There's lots of good stuff here. Addie loves logging onto computers, logged himself into every PC at Bible Hill. All right. Anyway, I'll keep researching. Thank you to those who help me answer questions that I have, because I just can't do it alone. God bless you all. God bless you all. And God bless the 23.